Hoi! The new Deadlock update for the 12th of September is out, and this comes with very crucial and very important changes once again. We're gonna go through the major ones and look at them in-game as well. Matchmaking is now open for all regions 24/7, so we can finally play whenever we want. First up, we have some quick changes to the navigation in general. So the minimap has been changed, the design of the minimap has been changed. Along with that, some icons have been added as well, some new icons and some other modifications. And more importantly, the orange lane is now the green lane. This makes sense because the green lane is one that is visually more distinct from the red, and people were sometimes confused about the red and orange tones, especially with color blindness. This may be an issue, though green and yellow might also be an issue with color blindness, so this might be changed again. Deadlock has added a behavior system that can punish you for various things if you're misbehaving, including a low priority queue, which you probably want to avoid. And fake reports can get you into that low priority queue as well. There are a few minor changes to queuing and abandoning matches. One notable thing here is that 6-player groups will no longer match against solo players, so they're going to look for another 6 stacks as far as I understand it, or multiple groups maybe. There was also change to 5-player groups, but that has already been reverted. They added custom hotkeys per hero, but that is currently disabled due to a bug. You can see that here if you're in your keybinds, you can do unit-specific hotkeys, and that will be enabled in the future. Initially, spacebar was no longer meant to cancel abilities this patch. They've kind of changed that around now, so you can define your own cancel key, or you can use the ability key. The problem with the ability key, and why they brought the other option back, is that sometimes if you spam a button, you may accidentally end up cancelling ability. For example, if you're just slightly out of range, you're just hitting a button too much, and then you actually get into range, and then you immediately cancel. But they could prevent that in the future by doing a cast window, basically a double tap window that you can be lenient in where it doesn't get cancelled. So if they enable that, then this may be a more logical option. And on the other hand, they've added exactly that for the alternate cast mode. You can double tap and choose the double tap window now. Alternatively, you can of course do the alternate cast button. They've merged modifier cast button and alternate cast button into the same button. This means you can now hold down the button beforehand for some form of self-cast, or you can press it after doing the ability if it allows you to do a self-cast afterwards, which some abilities didn't. Alt and Tab have been modified, with most of the things that you need now being on Tab. So if you want to, for example, ping on the minimap, do any kind of drags or anything, that's all on Tab now, whereas previously a lot of that used to be on Alt. The only thing that's really left on Alt at this point is quick upgrading abilities, but you don't actually need Alt for that anymore either, because they're introducing some other option for that as well. And in my opinion, this option is a whole lot better. As you can see in the keybinds, you can now bind each ability upgrade individually. So you can, for example, bind them to Tab plus a number as well, and then you will need the extra button even less. I'm not really sure what you're using Alt for at that point, but they want to add more information to it in the future. For now, you can do pretty much everything with Tab, especially if you bind the upgrades to Tab as well. If you're enjoying the video so far, you would do me a huge favor if you click subscribe and hit the bell, because YouTube really likes it when you do that. By pulling up the console with F7 and typing in a console command that you can see here, you can now create your own private lobby and can do custom matches. You can see that there's quite a few slots here for both players but also spectators, and you can choose your character and everything and start whenever you have readied everyone up. The sandbox has a pretty interesting tool now where it shows you how long it took you to shoot an orb after it spawned. So a little bit of practice, a little bit of knowing how quickly you can actually snipe those targets. The mid-boss low health roar sounds more distinct from the spawn sound now, which I think is very helpful. There is now a dashboard maximum frames per second slider. Pausing in hero testing, co-op modes and tutorial is now unlimited, which I'm very glad about because it's great for screenshots in particular. There are a variety of minor visual and audio effect improvements, but one that I think is in particular interesting to many players is the low ammo indication sound. Have a listen for yourself. There's a very, very distinct difference in the audio when the ammo gets low, so you'll definitely know. Orbs now favor the claimer rather than the denier when both impact within a narrow window of time to each other, which I think will be significant in laning. The first flex slot has been moved from the first walker to the first 2 walkers, which will be quite impactful when it comes to gameplay, because just pushing one lane on the side is no longer enough to unlock that flex slot. All ability and item cooldowns increased by 6% globally, and that even applies to the values in these patch notes, so they're not updated for that yet. This is just an overall increase. You now reach the max respawn time at 35 minutes rather than 40 minutes. Tier 4 items now cost 6,200 gold instead of 6,300, and the shield regeneration time for shield items has been reduced from 60 to 50 seconds. Still pretty long anyways. That's only if it's completely emptied. Wall jump activation has been made to be more lenient, and I found this very noticeable when I was just testing around. I pretty much accidentally did a wall jump at some point, because you don't really need to be quite as close to the wall. You can see I can actually be a bit away from the wall and I'll still get my wall jump. And likewise, you can now steer the launch angle a bit more, so there's quite a bit of adjustment in where exactly you'll end up afterwards, which makes for some very interesting double jump opportunities as well, where you can basically climb a building very easily, even though you may not be meant to otherwise. The jump shooting lockout has also been reduced, so there's a very quick break now if you're firing. Only 0.15 seconds, barely noticeable. Rope climbing speed was increased once again from 13 to 14, so just a little bit faster. On the other hand, taking non-dot damage while on a rope slows you by 30%. The mid-boss warning now happens at 60% instead of 50%, and the Walker Beam max range has been reduced by 20% from 50 to 40 meters after you've been targeted, so it's not quite sticking to you as hard. The successful parry cooldown has been reduced from 0.5 to 0.25 seconds, so you can use it again almost instantly. As you can see, the cooldown here is incredibly short. Alt fires were not working with conditional bonuses like close range before, so that is now a bonus that they should benefit from. You can no longer reload down when you have extra ammo, so if I'm using my Quantum Entanglement here, I'm going from 18 ammo to 40, and now I can't reload at all, and I can just shoot. If I reload now, then it will actually end up lowering my ammo, but as long as I am at that full magazine, it will not reset my ammo. So I don't know if I would call that fully fixed. I think you should still not be able to lose the extra bullets, but at least it's better than before. When it comes to map changes, on the green lane, we can see that there is a pathway here now, right next to the Curiosity Shop, that leads straight over into the front, which is a super easy gank when you are in the shop and somebody is coming from this side. Extremely dangerous in that regard. On the other hand, this particular lane, only on this side, has this rooftop, which is extremely safe, so possibly a countermeasure to that to make it a bit more fair and even, but I think this is extremely risky positioning here, extremely risky placement, where you can really gank and pressure with minimal effort. You can technically use this to poke from the side as well, but unless someone's on the bridge, you're not really getting too much of a view on them. The base has this new overhang for the patron, which you can hide under, for example, and it also has these juke closets right here, where you can just hide in the enemy base. I think there can be some very fun plays that could be made with that. This building, which has two of the soul exchanges, the slot machines, whatever you want to call them, no longer has the stairs and no longer has the rope outside, instead has a rope inside, which is pretty cool, because this rope can take you to the middle floor, but it can also take you all the way to the top. Previously, the general recommendation was to farm this from the roof down. Instead, now you can start down here, then you can go up to the first level, you can clear this out and get your slot machines, and then you go up here, get a few of the boxes, and you have a much better rotation angle in my opinion. You can either clear from here very safely, you can go over to this lane, you have much better vision of what's going on in between, you can get the buff very easily, so I think this is going to be beneficial. There's some more map fixes and changes which you can see here. The hero changes will be in a separate video, not to make this too overwhelming in terms of total amount of information for one video. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my patrons for supporting this video. Sloth, out.